Well, everybody, I'm super excited. I have, over the years, enjoyed watching this particular guest on YouTube, and I feel like I know her, but at the same time, it's always kind of weird these kinds of things. But I just want to welcome Nicole Pitt from Flower Hill Farm in Boonville, New York, to the Flower Podcast. Welcome.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. How are you, Scott?
I'm great. I'm great.
Good.
I just love following along and seeing the things you do. And I don't know, I just feel like it's refreshing and it makes me want to move to New York. And I don't know, I feel like you guys have the seasons a little bit more than we do down
We
here.
have all the seasons. We had more than 20 feet of snow this past winter. It was very wintry, the winter wintered.
Oh my
But
God.
we are entering spring, and that's very exciting.
Okay, I bet that is. I don't think
Yes.
I'd like 20 feet of snow though. I think you
No.
can, yeah, that might be a little much, but wow, amazing. That's just amazing. So, I know we were talking just a little bit before we started. Boonville. Where is Boonville in New York?
So Boonville is kind of smack dab in the center of New York State. It takes me about 4 hours to get down to New York City and about 3 hours to get up to Canada. So it's centrally located, very rural. Boonville, the village, has about 2,000 people, about 5,000 people in the town. So it's very small town, dairy farms,
Hmm.
agriculture. Everyone loves the farms here in Boonville. So we're very rural, and I love it. That's where I grew up, with open fields and woods to hike through. It's just been really great. I've lived here my whole life.
Wow, that's amazing. What zone, what planting zone are you guys in?
Well, according to the new planting
New
zone,
and
which I will
improved.
not I will not believe it. It says we are now a 5, but I have always gardened 4B.
Okay.
And my neighbor, he's a 3, believe it or not, because he's got the way his trees are, he's always 8 to 10 degrees colder in his spot. Even though he's 500 feet away, he's a whole zone colder. So it really is about microclimates, which is why I'm a big proponent of having your own little weather center on your property, just to see where the temperatures are around you, because you really never know. My phone never matches my weather center. So I always trust the
Hmm.
weather center over my phone. Anyway, so it's a 4B, which means that we get down to about negative 25 in the wintertime. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A nice balmy -25.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I always
Wow.
say to myself, why do I live where the air hurts my face? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
It's great. Does that help with exfoliating or anything like that?
Yeah, it's an automatic facial when you walk out. The wind just whips everything off.
That's right. It peels as we get a peel. So, Nicole, we always like to start at the beginning. So, I feel like, anyway, I just want to start. How did you find your way into the world of cut flowers?
Well, I fell in love on this property where I live right now. I fell in love with Dame's Rocket, was the very first flower that I fell in love with when I was a little girl, because the at the time I thought they were fairies, but they were hummingbird moths. They would visit the Dame's Rocket, and I would just watch that, and I would watch them for hours, reading a book, on sitting on the stones, back before people had phones. We were wild kids outside exploring the woods. So I fell in love with Dame's Rocket. And then I grew up gardening, and I didn't really, other than some daffodils and some bearded irises in my 20s, I had little kids. I was doing a lot of landscape flowers alongside my vegetable garden.
Mhm.
And then I would always bring some inside. So I'd have the most beautiful but also pathetic looking little vases with daffodils, looking back now, but they were so beautiful to me then, and they filled the space with joy, and I just started to want to do more of that. And then it was in my late 30s that the house that I grew up in suddenly became available again, and this is where I
Oh,
fell in love
wow.
with the Dames Rocket. And we were able to buy my family house back after 22 years of it being out of the family. And it's a beautiful property with rolling hills, about 20 acres. I would say probably 5 of those acres are just open fields. And then there's some wooded property. And I just got here, and the property has always held magic for me. And I just looked around, and I knew that something special needed to happen here, and it took just a little bit of research to figure out what can I do, what can I do, what can I do. And the time when the mail starts to come and all of those catalogs for all of the flowers come.
No, I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Right?
No.
No, I used to hide them. It was so bad. But they kept coming and kept coming. And one of them, I think it was like a Holland bulb catalog, just had this field of tulips. And
Oh,
it
wow.
just was so inspiring to me. I just looked at my husband and said, I think it's supposed to be flowers. I think we're supposed to fill this with flowers. Well, come to find out, tulip fields as a flower farmer don't look like that. But it was the idea of filling the property that was always magic to me with even more magic. Yeah, I loved it. So then we immediately planted dahlia tubers, gladiolas. And so my first summer here, I was harvesting and giving those flowers away and kind of building a small social media presence on Facebook with the intention of just telling my local followers, hey, we'll have these flowers available. Follow along, watch them grow. And that was the idea behind just starting that first year. And that was 2018. So it was 7 years ago that I first started growing flowers here. And the first year I gave them away. And then the second year is when I really got into all the different annuals. And that's when I discovered that it was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing until after I had already started it. And then I found other people doing the same thing. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole that
There
is
you
cut
go.
flowers.
There you go. I love it. Wow, that's amazing. So when you started out, I mean, I know a lot of people, especially when you have a lot of land, they really go deep into it and they really like want to plant, this huge amount and sometimes more than they bite off more than they can chew.
Are you calling me out,
No.
Scott? Because that's exactly what happened.
Is it? Gosh, it's almost like I was there. No, I just No, I didn't know. I
like
promise.
12 or 1,400 peonies. I don't even know. A couple hundred hydrangeas, a couple hundred lilacs, a couple hundred smoke bushes. I just kind of went crazy, and I really did heavy on perennials because I think those are just kind of the foundation of the farm.
Yeah.
And then I have right now I have 14 100-foot rows of annuals. And then I have a fenced in area that's about a fifth of an acre where I grow things like all of my vegetables because the deer here are awful. And then I also will grow things inside, like lilies and sunflowers, things that the deer can get to. And then I also have a 100-foot unheated high tunnel that I grow ranunculus, anemones, campanula, all the beautiful things. So yeah, I kind of went a little crazy when I first started out. Yeah, but I'm not regretting that because that was an investment that I made 6 years ago, I would say, was all the perennials. And now it's starting to pay off.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. And that's really unusual because a lot of times people don't dive into perennials first. I mean, maybe some peonies, but most of the time people do annuals, the easy stuff first.
Yeah, the cheap stuff too, because seeds are a lot less expensive than,
Yes.
hydrangea bushes. But I met a man named Dave Dowling, and
You
Dave and
did.
I kind of went perennial heavy, and he kind of led me that way, and he did not steer me wrong.
Yeah. No, I think that's so smart because as you're starting out, figuring it out, figuring out your business, who are your customers. Meanwhile, those little perennials are just doing their job and they just keep getting bigger and bigger and thicker and more and more flowers they produce. So that's awesome.
I'm really excited because some of my peony roots are now going to be, 5 and 6 years old, and I'm really starting to see production off of them. And then I have some that are coming into their third year. So I'm really excited to see what happens because it takes so long for them to really produce large numbers. I just can't wait.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's really great. Well, I'm kind of curious. So I know your background because, I did a little digging that you were in TV, like news, like is it news reporting, like an anchor kind of a
Yeah, I
situation?
was an anchor and a local reporter for my local news. So I took a journalism class in college and I fell in love with storytelling, but it goes way far back than that. I kind of won trophies in elementary school for writing. And
Wow.
not a big deal. Little trophy. I still have them. I think they're in that box over there. So I was always really good at telling stories, written stories. And then I took this journalism course. I really love the professor. I think the professor makes it a big difference in
Huge.
how passionate you are about something. And maybe that's why Dave is a good teacher. He's really passionate about it. So I ended up taking this journalism course, and that led me to actually Syracuse University. I went to Syracuse University for broadcast journalism, and my degree is in broadcasting. And I worked in local television as a producer, reporter, anchor, one man band. We did everything. And I did that for many, many years until my son ended up experiencing some immune system deficiencies.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't maintain a full time position and be the mom that I wanted to be.
Mhm.
So in 2016, that's when I left television and I entered a part-time freelance video job. And I just wasn't fulfilled. Like I was telling other people's stories all the time. And then it was once I started on this flower journey that I kind of had this epiphany moment where I said, well, why don't I just turn the camera around and start to tell my own story and show people the trials, the tribulations, and successes of trying something new. And it kind of just snowballed from there. And it took a long time to, gain a following because I originally was making videos for my local community. Like I said, I was just saying, hey guys, I'm starting Yarrow today. You'll be able to see this blooming in 6 months. And it was people who wanted to do the same thing that kept coming to my channel. And so it was like, I still feel like I'm using my broadcasting degree. So it
Yeah.
wasn't a waste for
Well,
me.
you are.
But yeah, so that was television. I loved being a local reporter. I loved meeting people every day. I loved telling their stories. And it was something I was very passionate about. So being able to kind of do the same thing in a little bit of a different way is really important to me.
Mm. Well, you you're obviously gifted. You obviously do a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean seriously. I always I, I think the thing I love the most about watching you on YouTube is you're just real. You're just in the moment. Well, whether that's loading your car or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's I don't know. I feel like having done the podcast now for as many years as we've done it, I that's one thing that I hear time and time again that so many growers they feel isolated or they're just alone because they're in the greenhouse by themselves or in the field by themselves or maybe they have one or two people on their team, but it's just they feel isolated. And to
Yeah.
be able to see other people going through the same thing, dealing with the same issues, getting frazzled, whatever it is, I think is just makes people feel seen. And
I think
uh,
so too. I get a
yeah,
lot of messages from people just saying, thank you for being honest and showing that that
yes,
plant didn't make it, or you had thrips, or you had to throw out your whole crop of gladiolas. That's real life. If I'm showing people this cookie cutter, everything is perfect, and then they try to do something, they're only going to feel like a huge failure because it wasn't as easy as Nicole made it look. It's not easy. And I'm
right,
not trying to make it look easy because I want people to be encouraged to stick with it instead of being encouraged to walk away because it's
right,
it's a lot of hard work. And I think sometimes the images that you see in the 15-second reels on Instagram are not it. Those are very few and far between,
mm,
really. And they're like 2 months out of the year for me. The harvest videos, July, August, and maybe September, but sometimes we have a September 16th frost. So yeah, there are only a couple
wow,
months out of the year where I'll have armfuls of flowers.
wow. That's
It's
another thing I
horrible.
never even thought about is how short your season has to be.
Yeah, we have 110 days from last frost to first frost, but that's why I invested almost, I would say, year 2. I said, "Okay, I need a hoop house." And that's how I'm able to extend my season. So I'm typically starting to harvest those hoop house flowers in May. My daffodils are also a season extension because they're starting to pop. They're not blooming right now, but they're a few inches up. Those were really life-saving for me to have my CSA to be able to offer an April bouquet for my customers. And I've yet to venture into later crops in the hoop to extend it that way. I get nervous, but I do want to try some heirloom mums in there. So I've dabbled a couple here and there, but I'd like to fill the house, to be honest. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so too. I mean, I feel like if you can, I mean, because your house is probably empty at that point, or do you have
Well,
vegetables or
just
anything in it?
pulling. No, no, I think I'm gonna do sweet peas in there this year. So they'll end because they end really when the temperatures start to heat up, and I'll harvest those seeds, and then I can rip them all out and then try something else. But well, the heirloom mums won't work like that because they need to be in by July 1st, really. Actually, June. Yeah, June 1st is really, you have to pinch them by the 4th of July, but in the ground around Memorial Day. Yeah, I'd have to rip some stuff out early. See, all this planning, like people don't understand too. You have to really think a season ahead when you're doing this because everything needs to go in by a certain time to harvest by a certain time. And yeah, there's a lot of sketching on notebooks in my house.
I guess so, especially when you have such a narrow window of opportunity, but
Yeah.
with your cold bookends there.
I've actually considered putting in a heated hoop house here
Mm.
too. That's something that I'm interested in because I'd really like to also grow figs because why not? We can't have figs here outside. So I actually have some fig cuttings that I've been rooting and I really want to grow figs. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to heat a high tunnel for the figs. But if I heat a high tunnel, then I can do other things as well. Bonuses, bonus blooms. That's what I'm going to call them.
There you
Bonus
go.
blooms.
There you go.
I
I love that. And if you're gonna do something, why not figs? I mean, come on.
don't
I
know
mean,
why. I don't know.
I
The
love
2
it.
a.m. thoughts. Can't control
It's so funny because like right now, I can't remember if I shared this on the podcast. So if I did, y'all forgive me, but it's I had a few things this winter that were going to get nipped and I knew they weren't hardy. So I took some cuttings. And anyway, meanwhile back at the farm, I'm like bursting at the seams with cuttings of cuttings of cuttings. And I'm
them.
like, okay, I got to stop this. I can't keep doing this. And I'm just waiting to be able to plant them because my garage is just overflowing with cuttings and
Hmm.
but I can appreciate a good fig. I mean, I have to say. So,
Nobody else grows them around here, so it's a
well, of
very
course,
small market. I got to jump on
yeah, you can probably get
it.
premium bucks for that too. So,
Yes.
yeah. So, how long do you think it took for you to go from and maybe there's more to the story, but to go from being part-time flower farmer to kind of like maybe not total income, but being more sustainable as a business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where you're paying yourself.
Yeah, I think because the size of my community, for me, it is very hard
Right.
to really bring in enough money to, replace an income.
Right.
But I do have several other, avenues of income where I was able to walk away from my 9 to 5 job where I was producing corporate videos for other places, where I was able to farm full time in addition to producing YouTube videos, which does provide it provides a small income. It's not I'm not getting rich from YouTube,
Right.
but it does provide it basically replaced my 9 to 5 income. And I also do some corporate voiceovers for insurance companies where I go, your
Hmm.
2025 health insurance video. So like I do those. And so actually some of you may have heard me say your health insurance. I do for large companies. So I had a couple different avenues of income, and that allowed me to do and focus on the flowers. And that was it was emotional
I
because
bet.
I had a goal. And I knew that when I get this much money coming in a month, then I feel comfortable walking away and doing the flowers and YouTube full time. And that it took me just shy of 3 years to really establish the base of customers and followers to be able to combine those two things and walk away from a job. And it was terrifying. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna
I
say that it
bet.
wasn't because I also walked away from some really amazing state benefits. So it was a calculated decision, and I had my husband and I really talked about it for a couple of months. And I'm fortunate enough that he has a stable job and he also was able to switch the health insurance to his company. So we were able to make it work. But it was scary. It was scary. And Mother Nature's in charge. So I never know if my crops are going to get taken out. And they have. Last year was probably my worst year cut flower wise on the farm because of the weather and animals. I had a lot of animal problems. So we're making some changes this year because I'm dedicated to the farm this year. It's like I have so many goals for the farm that I really have kind of let fall to the wayside the last couple of years because of the addition of our retail garden center. So it's been very difficult juggling both things, but I think I'm finding the kind of the path to juggle everything, and I'm really excited about the farm. But it was, yeah, almost 3 years before I was able to walk away from my job, and I had a CSA, and
Okay.
I had bouquet bars on my porch, and those were really popular. I would have, it's a small town. Did I mention 2,000 people? I'd have 30 people come show up to my porch, which is pretty big for a really small town. And they loved it because they were able to visit the farm, see everything. And I mean, they didn't wander the fields, but when you pull up my driveway, it's pretty picturesque. It's a 1/4 mile driveway that goes up a hill, and you can see the fields of flowers
Mm,
as you're coming up the driveway.
sounds
So it was
beautiful.
kind of a little bit magical for them to be able to visit the farm. And that started during COVID, which was huge because people had nothing to do. The stores were closed. They couldn't go here, they couldn't go there, but they could come up on my porch and they could make a bouquet and have something to do for the day. So that's really when I think my business started to gain a local following, and kind of just snowballed from there.
Sure. So then you sold CSAs, you did these
Mhm.
bouquet bars.
Yes.
Um, did you sell to Florida? I mean, a small community like that, I
Yeah.
don't even
So
know.
there are
Yeah.
2 florists locally that I would sell to, but my
Okay.
small town florist in Boonville, those kind of sales would be like, she'd call me and say, "Hey, Nicole, do you have 10 white gladiolas?"
Mm.
That was like little bunches here, little bunches there. There were a couple of times when she would say, "I want all your status." So I'd bring her all my status, which left me with none. No, I love status so much. It's one of my favorites. But then there's another florist about half an hour north who is a little bit of a bigger area. She would have larger
Mhm.
orders. She would put in like $300 of whatever looks good. It's not a large order, but you know what I mean? It is for me. So and they would send pickup people, which was
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
They would send their
That's
delivery
huge.
driver to my farm to pick up the flowers and leave, which was such a huge relief for me because it was a time saver. And like, I get nervous traveling with flowers and buckets and vehicles. They always fall over. I need to figure out a system in my car so that they don't. I need a transit van. Don't have one. My dad does. I'm so jealous. My dad's an electrician, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
actually needs one.
Yeah, there's some good systems that where people either take like a piece of plywood and they drill holes and they put pegs in there,
Yeah, I saw that.
or use crates and like the bulb crates and put buckets in there. And I mean,
Mhm.
there are some things you can do because I understand because all it takes is you
One
lose.
sharp turn.
Yeah, and then you've got water. Yeah, then your car smells and all that other stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a thing. It's a real thing. Um, I okay, so you kind of went down two things that I or two paths that I'm really interested in. One is the animal thing.
Yeah.
So I know so many times I've worked with local growers, and I'm sort of like, so what's your animal pressure like?
Mm.
Because a lot of times, like, oh, we really don't have any, and I'm like, okay, well, I know this. As soon as you start planting things, and maybe not the first year, but probably the second year, once the buffet is there, eventually they find you, and when they find you, all that
Mhm.
money and work and sweat and equity, it just becomes a tragedy. So
That is so true. The first year, not one deer, not one. And the second year, a little nibble here and there.
right.
The third year, it took out the deer. I don't know what it was. It was a deer. Took out 100-foot row of amaranth and celosia, all of it down to the ground. And it was probably a week away from harvesting. They
Oh my
just
gosh.
chewed it down. Oh, things that you didn't think that they would eat. They were just mowing down everything. And then I had last year probably 2,400 snapdragons planted in one row, because you can plant those really close together, and the 100-foot row, 4 feet wide, a lot of snapdragons.
Yeah.
A bunny rabbit, shoot them, all of them. It just was night after night. And then woodchucks, woodchucks. They come, I don't know what they're eating, but they're eating something. And then last year, probably one of the most startling things that I've ever experienced is pulling in my driveway and having a herd of cows in my flowers. It was so bad. I
Ugh.
couldn't believe what I was seeing because I don't have cows, Scott. I don't have cows.
Well, you had a
But I
cow when you
I
saw the
pull in
cows, but
I had a cow when I saw the cows, exactly. So I'm slowly going up my driveway going, "There's cows! Like, what's going on?" Yeah, my neighbor, I bless his heart, no ill will towards Farmer Jim, but Farmer Jim's electric fence came down, and it
wow.
the cows realized we can knock this over. And so every day for the next, I think it was 22 days, every day for the next 22 days, the cows trampled my property. And to the point where my Ring camera was catching them in my driveway. It was
Oh my
ridiculous. 9
gosh.
p.m., there's the bull, just walking right by my car in my driveway. It was so bad that I had like closed my chicken coop at night. I turned the corner around my house and there's three of them right in front of my chicken coop. It was terrifying. They're huge.
They are big.
Anyway, they I don't know if they really ate as much as they trampled. They just a herd of
Yeah.
cows going through, and their feet are the size of bowling balls. Everywhere they stepped, they crushed. I just put in a brand new perennial row of Veronica and Eryngium and what else is in that row? I can't remember. I'll find out when it grows this year, but there's yeah, the Veronica, I was so excited. I got all three colors from Farmer Bailey. Boom, and then he just crushed all of them. I think they'll come back, but you never know. And I won't know until things wake up because it was like August, September that this cow issue happened. Yeah. So, yeah, woodchucks, bunny rabbits, deer, and cattle. Those are my animal problems right now. I
Unbelievable.
don't
Well,
really have a vole problem.
yeah, those are can
A
be
lot of
bad.
people have vole problems. I know they're there. I know they're because I have black fabric in my peony bed where they're all planted, and I can feel the tunnels under the black fabric. But my peonies so far have not been affected, so I'm not sure what they're eating. Hopefully, they're moles and they're eating meat. I always have to tell people that moles are vegetarian. It's the voles that, or wait,
Now moles eat the
wrong.
worms and beetles.
Yes, there's
Voles
one
eat the
so you
roots.
want the moles is what you want.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had issues with voles, and it became sort of comedic with me out there with a pellet gun, just try. Yeah, like my aim is that good, right? I mean, come on. And yeah, that's a whole thing. And but
Oh,
they're
you know
hard to
what
get
else?
rid of.
They are. And then something else I just remembered. I had a whole entire probably 2 to 300 sunflower seedlings planted, and the crows would come up, just grab a leaf and just bloop, throw it.
Yep.
They weren't eating it. They were just tossing it like it was a toy. I had a catalog come in this week. Yeah, of course, as they do. But it was a fencing catalog, and I saw this. It was a protector for poultry, a big netting for poultry, and I was like, "Oh, maybe that can work on my sunflowers." Put it over top of the whole crop to keep the crows from I think I'm gonna get it. It's gonna
Yeah.
be an experiment this year. All it
Yeah.
takes is a little like a 10-foot pole in the middle of your field, and then you lay the netting over it so that the crows can't get to the seedlings. Because that was a huge problem last year. They probably pulled out half my sunflower crop. And
I
some were sunflower steves, and those are precious.
oh my gosh, yes, they
Yes.
are. Well, I had a grower that had problems with turkeys. And the turkeys would
Oh.
actually eat the seedlings or eat the seeds. Like I don't know how they knew where they were, but they just I mean, it's almost like they just, were digging in the dirt and they'd find the seeds and yeah,
No. I
it
so I
was a
have
thing.
turkey flocks walk through my property every day, and they have not touched anything so far, thankfully. Yeah.
So, okay, so you've got Wild Kingdom at your doorstep.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to fight the battle?
So, we actually decided last year after the cow slash rabbit slash deer debacle, I said to my husband, "This is not worth my time unless we put up a fence."
Mhm.
So last year I invested and bought a post hole digger attachment for the tractor. And we are in the process of researching what the best material is for a temporary 8-foot fence.
Hmm.
We're going to put permanent 4x4s in the corners and then one in the middle as well, because it's about 120-foot long space both ways. It's a big square.
Hmm.
So we'll have the anchors on the corners, but I use a bed maker attachment with Bio 360 and a
Hmm.
Kubota tractor. So we need to be able to get in and out of there to create the beds. So we're putting in the permanent fixtures on the corners, and then I'm going to get like a temporary deer netting that I can take down every year so that we can wrap it up and reuse it, but take it down so that we can get the tractor in and out of there. I can't spend a money on seeds, plugs, B, all of my time. And honestly,
Oh
the
yeah.
past year I've had to hire help as well. And I'm paying them hourly to plant these seedlings. And it's just thousands of dollars. And then not only that, but the potential income loss.
That's huge.
It's a lot. It's huge. I had people I had to turn away almost 2 or 3 times a day. People were asking for flowers, and I couldn't even do my farmer's market. I just didn't have enough. Didn't have enough. It was embarrassing, to be
Mm.
honest.
Yeah. No, it's so discouraging, especially I know stories of, where the deer come and take one bite out of your flower and then they just move on to the next one. And it's like, why don't you at least finish your food? If you're going to eat this one, eat the whole thing. But no,
Yeah.
they just take one bite. But no, I'm glad to hear you say that because that's one of the topics we really haven't talked about too much. And I know that I personally have had so many issues with some of this. We used to grow a couple crops and we would have temporary fencing in. And I was shocked. Now I will confess that I did not do a good job of posts because it was that temporary.
Yeah.
Um, and the deer actually pushed the fencing right over. I mean, I was
Yeah.
really surprised about that. I guess because they could just reach enough to get a taste, and then they just
Mm.
reach a little more, reach a little more, and they end up, they're heavy. They push, but things like rabbits and these small animals, though, that's another level of crazy.
Yeah.
So,
So the fifth of an acre that I have fenced in, we have 4x4s every 8 feet. And the top layer, I have a cattle panel. And then the bottom, I have rabbit fencing all the way around. I've
okay,
never had deer inside that space. So I trust that that's a good thing for my area. They've never tried to.
hmm,
I mean, maybe they have tried, but they've never succeeded at entering the space unless I forget to put the gate up. That's happened. Then they walk right through the door. So I'm thinking that that kind of a setup where there's a rabbit, like a tighter fence at the bottom so that the woodchucks, raccoons, I've never had a raccoon problem, but the person I bought this house from did. He couldn't grow corn because the raccoons would eat it all. So I think the tighter netting at the bottom, and then as it goes up, it can get a little bit bigger and a
right.
little lighter. And I'm really hoping that that will do the job because this is like my last resort. It's either that or I start doing that thing that the farmers do in the field where there's like a bang every 20 minutes. I'll do it. My neighbors will hate me, but I'll do it.
I love it. So now let me ask this: so with the rabbit fencing, do you bury it at all? Like, do you go down at all?
I have not. No,
Okay,
I do around my chicken coop, obviously, for
right.
diggers to get to them, but no, I have not gone down. It's just right level with the ground. Probably a little bit grown over by now. It's been 5 years since I put that fencing up, so there's some grass that grows
Yeah,
over it now to kind of secure it down. But no, I haven't dug that. That would be kind of hard to do on a temporary fence. It would make
sure.
it the job to remove it quite large.
Yeah, yeah. No, it would. Well, and I know I just asked because I know we have our backyard is fenced in, and we have issues with animals digging under the fence. And then this year,
Okay.
I have a feeling I'm going to be,
Woodchucks.
yeah.
Yes.
We actually have. I know I've talked about this on the podcast, but like skunks,
Oh,
and now they don't really mess with the plants, so that's okay. But
yeah, but
um,
they're there.
uh, yeah. And they make nice little tunnels for the rabbits to come in. So that's
Ah,
that's that's the real problem.
they're accomplices
They
then.
are. They are. That's exactly what it is. So, okay, well, another thing, I know we were talking about this a little bit before. Well, wait a minute. Before we get to this topic,
Yeah.
You mentioned, because I saw this other video you were doing recently where you have all this shipment of amazing plugs that you do baskets and things, and you said that you have a garden center now. Tell us a little bit about that, because I feel like a lot of times, growers are looking for new revenue streams, and doing what you're doing, if you've got a house that you can do it in, I think it's a great idea. I know you're doing it for your garden center, but I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, it is actually I don't know how it happened. I was just driving by. So there's this garden center that's been in the village of Boonville since 1894. And it started as an old,
Wait. You said
yeah,
1894?
1894.
Wow. Okay.
And it was first put there by Frank Geiscope in 1894. It's a Cornell style, or yeah, a Cornell style house with the wood. So it's wood structure, amazing, gorgeous, beautiful. It was falling down. There were just so many renovations that needed to be made, and the person who owned it that when I purchased it, they didn't grow their own stuff, so they just turned the lights on in May, wholesale in, sold out, and it was empty the rest of the year. Something about it. I was driving by it every day because it's only about 500 feet from our high school, middle school. And so I would drive by, and something just said to me, fix it, buy it and fix it. Now, it was not for sale, Scott. It was not for sale. And
It sounds like a Field of Dreams moment.
this happens, right? It's
Yeah.
manifesting. I
Yeah.
don't know how it happens, but you just got to put positivity out there and it comes back. So I'm going to my hairdresser a couple days later, and Tommy's putting blonde in my hair. And I say to Tommy, I go, do you know if the it was Mill Creek Nursery is going to be opening this year? And he's like, I don't know. He said, he does the woman's hair who owned it at the time. And I said, or he said, she did mention, maybe being done soon. And I said, oh. So I sent a message to the lady and the gentleman who owned it and said, hey, if you guys are ever interested in selling the greenhouses, let me know. And I got the message back that said, can you meet me there at 2:00? So I met him there at 2:00, and we worked out a deal in probably half an hour. And this is something that I had been thinking about for a couple of weeks before I had this conversation with him. And I kind of okayed it with my husband. We kind of had a number in mind. Oh, what are they going to ask for it? Okay, this number is our max. And it was within our number. And it was crazy. It was just crazy. So it took that was March. We closed the last week in July. And all of a sudden, I owned 4 greenhouses and a retail shop, and it came with a house. So it's like having a second house, a second location. And there were many reasons that I did this. Yes, I wanted to fix up a falling down business. But Scott, it also got to the point where my social media had gotten large enough to where people were stopping to my house all the time,
Mm,
uninvited.
that's hard.
And it was becoming kind of a security risk for my kids and my animals and my family. And people just were wandering around my fields, and I was getting uncomfortable with the security issues with my house. So I said, you know what? I think I need a retail space to sell my flowers in, because I still want to interact with the customers and I want to meet these people who are driving hours away to buy my flowers, but I don't want them wandering around my property. So it kind of killed two birds with one stone. I also had it in my mind that when I was too old to farm flowers, which is not going to happen, but when I'm too old to plant the 80,000 annuals and 10 the perennials, then I can just plant hanging baskets and have that be my retirement. Little did I know it's just as physical
Yeah, I was
as
gonna
being
say.
a flower farmer. It's just a different kind of physical. Like, just for instance, today, I picked up and moved 20 bales of Pro Mix by myself. So it's a different kind of physicalness. And it's been one of the greatest things that I ever could have done. It's my family is so involved. Everyone loves to be there. Everyone loves to help. The community was so supportive. They loved seeing me take over this building that is literally falling down and putting every penny that I was making, all my YouTube money, back into the nursery. I just wanted it to be fixed and beautiful because for me, my community is so important. And people coming to visit Boonville is huge for our economy.
Mm,
And so
yeah.
I want it to be a destination nursery in the Northeast. And I think we'll get there within 5 years. We have huge plans to build a botanical garden. I'm actually working with Shriner's Irises
Mm.
to get a huge iris display on the property. I might be going to visit them in May. I'm so excited.
Well, Liz is
Um,
amazing.
yeah,
So
they have their
she's,
100-year anniversary this year, and
yeah,
they're allowing interviews with the family and stuff. They invited me out. I really wanna go. But there's just not enough time in the day. There never will be. So if
no,
not enough time in a day is preventing you from doing something you want, do it anyway.
right.
You're never gonna have enough time.
It's not going to change
So
anything.
no, it's not. And the greenhouses are it's a totally different business. I will say it's shorter season. Because I started planting hanging baskets in February, and by June, the mid to the end of June, everything's gone. I love that. Then I can turn my attention to the farm for the rest of the summer, and we have mom season as well in the fall. However, it does make more money than the cut flowers. Think about it. Hanging baskets, they're not cheap.
Mm.
So it makes more money. It brings in more money than the cut flowers do, but I will never walk away from my cut flowers. Those are my bread and butter. That's what I love. That's what brings me peace. Nothing will replace getting out in the field and getting your hands in the farm soil. Yeah,
Right.
so I bought a garden center and we're we're fixing it up and it's been the wildest adventure. And I'm glad that my grandfather was around to see it happen because he that's where I get my love of growing and
Mm.
it was I've just never seen him so happy than when he was helping us plant and being in the greenhouses and he was able to see the first 2 years of it and that was amazing.
That is amazing. Well, and the other thing is like the plants that you're buying to make those baskets are really high quality, really incredible varieties. I mean, I mean, you have I mean, it was just a tremendous collection of all kinds of things that you have. And are you, let me ask this, are you growing those in the greenhouses at the garden center? Or are you growing them at your house in your high tunnel?
Uh, they are all being grown at our second location in the heated greenhouses.
Okay, they're heated. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's, very expensive to heat them in Boonville,
I bet.
but it's amazing to watch these plants. I will be posting a video soon of an update. It's only been 3 weeks, and those plants are spilling out over the baskets already. It's incredible. You leave the greenhouse and you come back the next day, and things look different. It's unbelievable how fast things grow because of the high heat and high humidity. I keep it 55, 65 with humidity. There's exhaust systems and all that stuff to make sure that you have healthy plants and I have to use all these fungicides and all this stuff to make sure that everything is healthy. It's a totally different growing experience, but equally exciting every time a new thing opens, a new bloom, a new color. And honestly, I think my favorite part is A, the unboxing, but B, going through those catalogs and picking out what will be growing. Cause really you're making the decision for the hanging baskets that are going to be around your community. You're picking them out. And obviously your customers then come and pick them. But really, you're picking out the hanging baskets that your community will have on their porches, and it's
No
kind of fun.
pressure. No pressure.
No, I love it.
You hold their botanical future in your hands.
I do.
So
It's so fun. It's honestly an adventure I never thought there's actually a video of me saying, "I'll never own a nursery." Yeah, I'm a liar. I'll own it.
well, one thing I just think we have to dive into is the whole YouTube thing. And it's not necessarily about YouTube, but more about being the face of your business.
Yeah.
I know I hear it from people. I know you've mentioned it to me, but people just not understanding the value in that, and just getting over your fears and jumping in front of that camera. And
It's
so just
scary.
I'd love to really hear your thoughts on that.
It's scary. It's terrifying. It did take me a long time to get used to being in front of the camera and being myself because a lot
Mm,
of times you want to get in front of the camera and you want to be prim and proper and like you're reporting the news like today on the farm like that's not authentic. That's not easy to watch. So people relate to people when they're themselves, and it's something that takes practice. That's all you have to do. But it's so important to be the face of your business because it it makes people more engaged in what you're doing. If they see who's behind the flowers, they're more likely to support that person because it's a person and not just a thing. And that's
mm,
important. And that's why farmers markets are so popular because you get to be face to face with your customers. I did I dropped off bouquets at a mercantile and I wasn't able to meet with those customers one on one and it was a little disappointing. Yeah, I'm selling my flowers, but I love the interaction and that's I think one of the reasons why I love having my retail space so much is because I get to interact with those customers every day and they know me. You know why? Because my face is on my business pages, because I'm showing them here's what we're growing and I'm recording myself. And so they walk in and they know exactly who I am and where's the owner here? Oh no, they know because I'm the face of my business. And that's something that if, it's not required. You don't have to do it, but
right.
there are people who want to do it and they're afraid. Don't be afraid. Just be yourself. Be vulnerable because vulnerability is relatable. And if someone relates to you, they're more likely going to want to support what you're doing.
No,
Half the
I
stuff I grow dies. Like half of it dies. I'm like, it's not, don't put on a facade that never sells.
yeah. No, I appreciate that. I feel like I think too sometimes people, and you touched on this, I know, they're so afraid because they think in their mind, number one, it's just that self-awareness. I don't like
Yeah.
my voice, I don't like how I look, I don't like all these things. But then this idea that we have to be perfect, we have to have the perfect set or the perfect background or the perfect and it's like, no, you don't. And and I'm sure the videos you create now are different than the videos you started with.
Oh, 100%. And I will tell you, I can't watch myself. Once my video is edited and posted, I'll never watch it again. I mean, I'll watch it on mute. Like if I'm looking for something, if I'm like, when did I start those? When did I plant those dahlias last year? I'll watch it on mute. I'm not listening to myself again because nobody likes to hear the sound of their own voice and nobody likes to watch themselves. I'll edit the video, post it, and then it's dead to me. I don't know anything about it. Yeah, it's not comfortable. It's not, but that's you you are your own worst critic, obviously,
Yeah.
and other people will just see it as you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I love that. So is there any tips that you can think of that, for somebody who's starting off? I mean, obviously the mindset and just kind of just going ahead and doing it. But like, I don't know, maybe from cameras or do you use your phone or what?
I do both. So I have a Canon 850, I think, 850D. I don't know. It's not even a super expensive one. I have a Rode microphone, a fluffy one that goes on top of my camera. When I'm doing an unboxing video, I'll use that. But it's a lot easier to just put my phone on a tripod when I'm in the field.
Mm,
Unless I'm doing a big harvest video, then I'll put the big tripod up. But it's mostly just my phone walking around. I do have an external mic that I attach to my phone, but not always. Sometimes I'll just turn it on and record. It's really what's in front of me because if I don't use what's in front of me, I just won't make a video. Right now, I'm
right.
so busy that I have to be intentional about it. I have to just turn it on and let's go. A phone, simplest thing. I use Adobe Premiere Pro editing software, super easy. I think there's even easier softwares to use that are free and you can edit right on your phone. I don't like doing that. I was trained at college with editing software, so I just use what I know, and that's Adobe. I love it. It's super, you just put in, out, drop, in, out, drop. It's super easy to edit. I don't know what do you use?
So good question. So my kids, who do our editing, and all of them have been involved at one point or another.
Hmm.
Um, because everything with us was all Apple, this and that.
Hmm.
We use Final Cut, and
Yes.
Final Cut is what they know, and that's what we've always used, and we continue to use. So
Yeah, I used Final Cut, I think probably a lot in the 2000s, right after I graduated college, because I'm old now. I graduated college 21 years ago. So I
we're not
used
talking
it.
about that.
I know. I used it. I love Final Cut. Uh, there's a lot of things you can do in Final Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good software too. Anyway, camera, it really doesn't matter as long as I will say, my photography, I hate my phone for photography. There
Okay.
is a huge difference between my phone and my camera when it comes to the quality of my images. And that's important to me because I am like photographer and I create calendars with my images and I
Yeah.
have to have that high res. I have to have the crisp photos. I do greeting cards, I do calendars, I do merch with my pictures. So I also like a marketing tip, take 5 different shots of every flower you harvest from different angles so that you can use those throughout the year without repeating a picture. That's something I make sure that I do. I literally host photo shoots with my flowers. I talk to them, I tell them how good they look, I hype them up. They're amazing. And then I have a folder of extra shots that I can use throughout the winter season to promote my business because you don't want to fall off of social media just because you're not harvesting flowers. You want
Yeah.
people to remember that you're there and that in just a few short months, you'll have these beautiful blooms again.
Yeah.
That's important.
No, I appreciate you saying that. Um, is there anything that you can share, like when you take photographs, like you're using a real camera,
Mhm.
then like settings or time of day or backdrops, or I know that's a
Yeah.
big topic. Just, I don't know, just kind of keeping it simple because I know a lot of times, again, I I hate the idea, sometimes I go to look for a camera and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I'm not going to spend $5,000 on a camera,
No.
but I'm just trying to think of that for people.
Yeah, mine is an 80D. I just remember the name of it. I don't know, I think you can probably get one for 8 or $900 now. I think they've gone down in price. I love in my photography to have my flowers be the only thing in focus, and I like it to have like that blurred background.
Hmm.
And the way that I do that is that I'll set buckets on top of each other to get the height of the flower so that I'm shooting down on the flower so that there's nothing behind it but grass. And then I'll
Okay.
have like a just a beautiful blurry green background. And it doesn't have to be green. I have a red shed. Sometimes I'll do it against the red shed, depending on what the flower is. I like it to be
Mm.
complementary and not fighting with the flower. Cress, if it's just green, red background's great. But if it's peaches, apricots, I love the green grass background. If I can't do that, then I want the entire frame to be all the blooms together. Or, like what do they call them? The flat shots where they kind of break all the heads
Oh,
off of dahlias and put them
yeah.
down.
Flat
Yeah, I don't
lay.
do that. I don't do that. I don't I don't chop their heads off, Scott. But I fill my flower buckets and then take overhead shots of them with their stems still on because I can't afford to lose 100 stems.
Yeah.
I need them for my customers. So I love to do that. I think it's super important to use your own photos when marketing. There's a lot of copyright issues you can run into with stealing other people's pictures. I'm not saying I've never done it, but sometimes you have to. And I have actually had some people reach out to me and ask permission to use my flowers, my pictures on their website to let them, hey, I'm growing Goldilocks rudbeckia this season. Do you mind if I share your photo as an example of what I'm growing? And I kind of always just say, sure, no problem. It's okay. The photos are out there. But yeah, I love taking pictures of my flowers. I probably spend way too much time doing that.
Well, I
Mm.
think I think, especially in our day and age of scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, I think when you have a really great picture, I think it catches people's attention.
I
So
miss that about Instagram.
yeah.
I miss the photos.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to agree with you there. Um, I can't believe, but we are almost out of time. And
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I prepped you for this. So this is a
No.
surprise.
Yeah.
I
Oh boy.
always end with the advice question
Oh
at
boy.
the end of our episode. So I was wondering if you might think of a piece of advice you'd like to share with our listener.
Well, I will say that when I started out growing flowers, I didn't have a lot of support from my friends, which is weird, right? And I don't want to call my friends out, but they didn't understand it. I think is
Right.
what it was. Is they were like, "You're doing what?" I said, "Well, I'm going to be growing and selling flowers," and they just didn't get it. They didn't understand number one the scale that I was talking about. I have a friend, Kathy, and I can call her out because she every time she sees me, she goes, "Hey, Nicole, remember when you were just going to plant a few bulbs?" Because that's what I told her one day. She's like,
Hmm.
"Well, what is this flower thing?" I'm just going to plant some bulbs. 60,000 bulbs later. Anyway, I think that it's important to stay true to yourself, even if you don't have people in your immediate circle supporting you. There are so many people in this flower farming community that you can turn to for the encouragement and the support. And that's one of the reasons why I open every video by saying, "Hi, flower friends," because that's really what it is. It's people who are like minded, who are loving flowers, who wanna grow flowers, who support your growing of flowers, and that's kind of where I had to turn to find the support and understanding. Because it's not like they don't support me, but they just didn't get it. They didn't
Right.
have the same passion, and I think that reaching out and finding someone who shares your passion, even if they're an hour away or 2 hours away, some of my best friends I met through growing flowers. I've been able to travel to Farmer Bailey's, and when he was in Vermont, he's not there anymore, but I walked into his high tunnel where he was growing sweet peas, and I started crying like a baby because it was so overwhelmingly gorgeous, and I knew that everyone else that was there on that farm tour with me felt the same way. We were in a
Yeah.
like-minded community, and then I was able to travel down to the Arnoskis in Texas. I was so overwhelmed and so inspired by what they're doing down there that it just surround yourself with people who are like-minded and who want to see you succeed. That's my advice. It was hard and it took me a couple of years to really find that community, but once you do, I talk to them every day. I talk to
Mhm.
them every day, and I've only met a couple of them in person. But it's really a beautiful flower friendship to make. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Also, don't be afraid to just do it. Yeah, like, literally, just do it, because if you wait for the timing to be perfect, like anything else in your life, if you wait for the perfect time to get married or the perfect time to start a family, you are going to just spend your life waiting, and I probably am a little bit too much that way. My husband reels me in. Like, I wake up in the middle of the night like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta just do this." No, Scott, I brought home 2 bunny rabbits last night. What's wrong with me? But
You brought home the enemy. How can you do
I
that?
well, that's the thing, I can control what they eat.
Oh,
I can control it. I did. I brought their yes. I'm gonna build them a rabbit palace. It's gonna be amazing. You know why I brought them home? Because I need their poop, Scott. I need their poop.
oh wow.
Yeah, compost.
Harnessing harnessing the rabbit pellet.
Cold compost. We gotta get those nutrients in the soil. They're my hoop house nutrients from now on. And we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, be spontaneous. Don't wait for the perfect time. Just go for what you want and really let your heart lead you until it leads you where you want to go. And then I was saying this, now I do have to rein myself in and think, is this financially responsible with some of the things that I do? But mostly my heart leads the way. Yeah.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you saying that too, because earlier about, sometimes I know I've been in the flower business for well over 30 years, and I still don't think my family knows what I do.
Yeah.
And I always think it's interesting. And because you're passionate about something that they probably aren't, which is okay. It's okay.
Yes, totally fine.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like I don't know. It does play with your brain a little bit sometimes. And
I
I don't
think
know.
it's a little discouraging when you're
Yeah.
so passionate about something and you share something with someone you love and they love you, and they're just like, "Oh, cool." And I'm like, "No, look at this. Look at it. Do you see?" Yeah, but it's been amazing to find the people who share the same passion, and I actually have I had a girl start a few weeks ago, and she's been helping me at the nursery, but I brought her to the farm the other day, and I did a tour, and she was like, "Oh, oh, you flower farm." She's like, "I wasn't expecting this." She thought it was, a small, like, couple rows of flowers, and we have to get in an ATV to go to all of the places where there are things growing, and
Right.
she was it just unless you see it with your eyes and you experience it, you don't understand
Yeah.
the amount of work that goes into it, the time that it takes, and the money that it takes, and honestly, there's a lot of heartbreak along with the beauty, so you have to
Yeah.
be prepared for all of those things because you will lose crops, you will cry, you will sweat, you will be covered in mud, you will be passing out in the fields from exhaustion, and then you will have a harvest armful of dahlias and you'll be like, totally worth it.
Hmm.
It's fine.
Well, and one thing too I'll say is, what I do enjoy, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way, is those people in your family that may not get it when they see the difference it makes in other people's lives, like when
Yeah,
they see somebody come on your porch, for example, and build a bouquet and how happy and it's like, wow, she's making a difference. She's
yeah,
bringing joy into people's lives.
mm,
They're taking this home, and this is more than an income. This is more than the flowers themselves. And I feel like that's when a lot of times our families, when they have the chance to see that, the impact, that's when they start. They don't fully get it, but they start to get a piece of it,
yes.
and then they're just proud of you, you know?
Yeah, I will say my mom totally gets it because 'cause she's been there since the first seed. So she has seen the growth and transition, and she's also one of my moderators for the comments, and so there are a lot of people who, who say really nice things on there. There's
Mhm,
also mean ones, which is why I don't read the comments because
mhm.
my mom moderates that.
That's
It's not good
healthy.
for my brain bank. I can't handle it.
I get it.
So, really beautiful the number of connections that we can make just growing flowers. Yeah. I wouldn't I couldn't imagine myself doing this 10 years ago and now I would never do anything else.
Yeah,
Nothing.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you so much for being on the Flower Podcast.
Yay! I'm so excited. I got to catch up on your podcasts too. I was telling you, I'm on a Dateline like podcast run right now, but I'm going to switch it over to Scott Shepherd. I got to catch up.
All right, awesome. I love that.